In the previous video, we defined what a GLC is and is going to be used as the base for what we will be talking about here. If you haven't watched it, we suggest that you do so first. Now, as promised, let's talk about the many issues that come with GLCs and some policy recommendation we got from the forum. For private companies, decisions are made by the owner because, well, they own it. So they bear all the risks and reward.
In GLCs, those who control the decisions of investment are not the true owners.
For GLCs, there is a chance of government intervention in decision making, leading to decisions that are not commercially sound. This could be by the chairman and board of directors who could also be politicians. There is this practice of giving politicians top positions in GLCs. It is widely recognized as an issue by government officials themselves. On top of that, the pay for directors in GLCs is still an issue. It was reported that directors in GLCs receive scandalously high pay and bonuses even when the GLC was making losses. So, the question is
that how to actually reduce this risk for instance, transparency, better corporate governance, appointment of the boards, leadership role.
One of the solutions is for GLCs to improve transparency and communication of their activities to inspire public confidence. This could be done by publishing annual reports and declaring executive pay levels as these are linked to public funds. Then we will get to see the pay for the board of directors. We can also ensure accountability in decision making this way, as anybody could check up on them. And this is just the bare minimum. There should be more discussions on other best practices that GLCs should adopt. Governments, as regulator in the economy, should encourage a level playing field so that businesses can compete in a competitive market. But there are cases where GLCs get an unfair advantage over other companies. For example, the government spent a total of 17.4 billion between 2001 and 2014 to save Malaysia Airlines. Would the government do the same for Air Malaysia or Malindo? Of course, the government has an incentive to protect GLCs because they have a social purpose. Imagine the amount of jobs that would be lost if Malaysia Airlines closed down. But the government's unfair attention to GLCs can decrease competitiveness. That's just not fair. So, what should we do? To ensure fair competition, some extra rules must be encouraged.
Thinking about, well, how do you sort of subject state-owned assets to market forces as much as possible and try and condition them to competition, to independence, and weaning off some of the benefits from state ownership.
There are different examples of these measures as seen around the world.
From wholesale privatization, partial state, looking at strategic buyers, management buyouts.
One good example of government regulation in Malaysia is in the telecommunications sector,
resulting in greater competition, lower prices. Of course, it comes short term, possibly at the expense of Telekom Malaysia's share price, but over the medium term, leading to a much better market outcome.
One of the main functions of GLCs is to address market failures. But times are always changing, and what was missing in the past may not be today. The question then becomes, does the government still need to babysit these GLCs? Shouldn't we let them go and grow on their own? The state has moral responsibilities to address market failures. But first, they need to identify
where is a real market failure that can and should be solved by the state.
And if there is a market failure, the question becomes, are GLCs truly the best solution?
Where frankly the private sector would probably be able to better fill that gap.
GLCs have a lot more function than just helping market failures. They may have been set up to reduce unemployment or to develop a certain sector, automotive sector, for example. These are resources that could have been allocated to address more important issues. We need to evaluate whether a GLC has achieved the objective it was set up for. First, we need to think about where GLCs are truly needed.
after you've got an assessment of where is there a legitimate case for the state to intervene and where not.
Okay, they had a social agenda, they had an industrial policy agenda, they had a agenda or purpose. Some of them had a purpose of nation's wealth management.
So let's evaluate all of these and see whether these GLCs have achieved their objectives. And if they have, what should the government do to them? Perhaps let them go like how Proton sold half of its share to a Chinese company, GLIC, in 2017. A genuine and responsible privatization can allow the GLCs to thrive as a private entity. Whether they want it or not, GLICs have to invest locally. There are barriers that prevent them from freely investing abroad.
And they have a huge investable fund chasing after few investment assets within the local market.
Because there are only so many companies to invest in, there is a good chance those GLICs end up investing in the same companies.
And as a result of it, it brings about that concentration risk to them.
And if any one of those investments goes bad, then all of these GLICs are affected. Why do you think GLICs are limited from investing abroad in the first place? Well, originally it was because the country wanted to manage the currency value.
So if more funds go out of the country and invest abroad, then there is going to be pressure on the ringgit.
But actually, in the long term, it is beneficial to increase GLIC investment abroad because
if you invest today abroad, over time the investment will create value for the country. And when we repatriate the investment return, naturally the country will benefit and the currency of the country will also benefit.
Also, GLICs should be allowed to go into riskier ventures to diversify their investments. A combination of different asset classes would help avoid concentration risk, thus improving risk management.
So if we are comfortable that they have an effective risk management framework, we should not have any discomfort that they go into high-risk activities or high-risk investment.
Like startups, we think GLICs should promote new innovations within the country. The world is always evolving, with all kinds of new industries being established. So, we should let GLICs investment be evolving as well.
So if the likes of CalPERS, the likes of the Norway pension funds invest in startups, why can't our EPF and our PNB and our Tabung Haji invest in startup? In fact, the current framework allows them to. It's just that we are reluctant to allow them to do it.
And this loops to having better risk management. And there you have it, some of the problems and policy recommendation that the forum came up with and why. And really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But we can only highlight so much in a simple short video. If you want more details on it, keep an eye out on IDIS's website for all the nitty-gritties. In the next video, we'll talk about the many research we IDIS have done on this issue.